So, will Ethereum flip Bitcoin? If Ethereum continues on this trend line, it will flip Bitcoin on July 29, 2021, this year. What do you think? Will it happen? Note this is regardless if Bitcoin will go up or down versus USD. The chart here is Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and it's only doubled from here. In this video, I will lay out the relative strengths of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Then I will outline what I think will happen if ETH actually flips BTC, so make sure to watch to the end. Before we start, I need to ask you a favor. Don't be Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. Actually punch the like button. Thank you. Let's lay out the two contestants. When I started this video just a few days ago, things looked grim for Bitcoin. Then suddenly a country, El Salvador, mandates that all private companies have to accept Bitcoin as a payment. That's more than legal tender. That's what I love about these markets, and that's why I choose not to use a methodology of trying to predict the future, but instead react to what actually happens. I want to vote for this president and I don't even live there. That's leadership. El Salvador is a country with many seemingly unsolvable problems. Now they get this huge economical upswing. They get huge positive attention. They suddenly stand for innovation, technology, new leadership. Bitcoin has pumped for 2 days now, and almost everything else has fallen back versus Bitcoin, Ethereum included. And I think this can have a long-lasting effect, but let's still lay out all the cards of Ethereum relative to Bitcoin and then conclude. BTC Miami went down last week, the biggest Bitcoin conference ever with 50,000 participants. And it seems they didn't buy Bitcoin. There were enough rich people there to move the Bitcoin price if they had concluded that they must buy more. Charts are a way to uncover what people do instead of what they say. Now it was arguably still a success because maybe it was the catalyst for one person to take the leap. And he was the president of a country. Next, the environment. Elon Musk and the Pope, the actual Pope, His Holiness Pope Francis, religious leader for 1.5 billion Catholics, are now against Bitcoin because of the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining using non-renewable energy in some countries. Guys, I know the calculations. I know it's a misleading statement because Bitcoin is much better for the environment than what it is replacing, like gold mining or the legacy financial system. And of course, Bitcoin mining can be done in a renewable way, for example with geothermal energy like the El Salvador president himself has proposed. But now, both the modern tech god and the spiritual god are against Bitcoin, right or wrong. And Ethereum is solving this exact problem by moving from proof of work to proof of stake. Other drawbacks, I know, but this problem they do solve, if they get it out the door. And will they? Or is Ethereum simply too decentralized and they'll never get the work done? ETH2 is great in every aspect, except it doesn't exist yet. Scalability. Bitcoin's second layer solution to scalability is the Lightning Network. In my opinion, as a technology man, it's too complicated. It's too complicated opening and closing channels, it's too complicated model to lock up funds, the always on requirement is too complicated, and even if it weren't too complicated, the Bitcoin layer 1 network with 7 transactions per second doesn't scale even to open and close these channels if this really picks up. It's not going to work that way. For Bitcoin to scale, it has to remain only as a settlement layer, while the actual transactions take place somewhere else, like on Square Cash App or on an exchange. And then these big companies or countries like El Salvador once in a while settle back on the Bitcoin network. That could work. Ethereum is much further ahead with scalability. There are actually working layer 2 solutions. And layer 1 can be scaled more too, as explained by Vitalik here. Those limits are high enough that we can probably process over 1 million transactions per second with the full security of the blockchain. That's an endgame for clarity, not the first step of ETH2. Competition. If Bitcoin's competition is a global settlement layer, in that Bitcoin is pretty unthreatened at this point. Just look at El Salvador here. They're not going to make Dogecoin legal tender. There's only Bitcoin that has that reputation today. While Ethereum is enormously challenged, it already went from the biggest to number 2 in terms of transactions after Binance Smart Chain. And Binance and BSC is not going to stop. They're already increasing capacity as well, and I'm sure they're planning for an L2 solution as well. And BSC is EVM compatible. That means that if you have some code running on Ethereum today, you can just take it and run it on Binance Smart Chain without changing a single line of code. It just goes faster and cheaper. That's a formidable proposition if Ethereum doesn't shape up soon. Then there is Solana, supported by FTX. They're apparently out to raise $400 million now to really take on Ethereum. I have no idea how a supposedly decentralized project can legally sell tokens to investors for hundreds of millions of dollars in 2021, if that's what they are doing. But I'm not a lawyer. You need to ask someone qualified about that. Technically, it's a great project, lots of projects building, and they have much higher scalability than Ethereum. So how can they do that? What's the difference? What we have to understand is that Vitalik in his article has a different opinion on something critical compared to Solana. If we go back to Vitalik's article, he wrote, "Do this without sacrificing the decentralization that makes blockchains so valuable." What he means with that is that he wants to do a blockchain where you can run a node on your home network to help secure the Ethereum network. Then he wants to limit CPU usage on your home computer to like 5 to 10%. He wants to limit the bandwidth, he wants to limit storage requirement on your computer to 512 gigabytes, which is still a lot. Solana doesn't agree with that. They say it's fine to have fewer but dedicated nodes. Look here at the hardware requirements: 12 cores, 128 gigabytes of RAM, fast SSDs, etc. That is not going to run well on your laptop while you're trying to do other work. So who is right? Solana's model could well work. Most people don't care as long as it's decentralized enough. Binance Smart Chain has shown that. But who knows? Narrative is important and Ethereum has the lead there. Then there is Polygon, Matic, great project also. Ethereum has enormous competition going after their exact proposition, but with even faster, even cheaper, even better blockchains, though maybe a little less decentralized. Bitcoin doesn't have that kind of competition. Dogecoin maybe, according to Elon Musk, but I think he's partly joking around. At this point, Bitcoin has only one challenger, and that is Ethereum. If Ethereum flips Bitcoin, the crypto world could be turned upside down. That's the second part of this video. What would happen if Ethereum actually flips Bitcoin? The most obvious consequence is that there would be Ethereum FOMO, for sure. Some people would sell their BTC at that time and move that money into the new number one crypto. That's for sure. At that point, what would be left for Bitcoin? If Ethereum anyway does all the other use cases, like DeFi, like NFTs, like DEXs, stablecoins, etc., why can't it do the settlement layer, the store of value use case as well? I think a lot of people would start asking that question if Ethereum becomes the number one crypto by market cap. Bitcoin's remaining value would be questioned. Now, of course, it doesn't feel that way today after the Salvador announcement, but remember that this is assuming Ethereum has, for whatever reason, flipped Bitcoin. And then this could become a self-reinforcing spiral, accelerating ETH versus BTC after the flippening. There's nothing saying this line can't continue here. So you should just go all in on Ethereum then, right? Well, not so fast. I don't think a flippening would be only a good thing, even for die-hard Ethereum fans. Imagine the hedge fund managers who made a big bet on Bitcoin. Then it turns out they were wrong. They bet on the wrong horse. Imagine the credibility loss. Bitcoin was supposed to be the sure card in this space, the one thing that almost everyone in this industry agreed on. Then Ethereum flips it, if it happens. Then it turns out that the hedge fund didn't understand this market. Turns out that they had no idea what they were doing. Imagine them saying, okay, so I was wrong, let's try again. That might not happen. They might feel burned by the whole industry. They might not just flip over the money from BTC to ETH. They might withdraw it from crypto altogether. Buy some speculative stocks instead that they can actually understand. That could lead to Bitcoin tanking hard against the US dollar. Even if ETH versus BTC is up, it could still get ugly for ETH in terms of USD value in that case. That's a very possible scenario too. Then something else will probably happen also. There are some die-hard Bitcoin maximalists out there, or just people with large bags. They will try to buy the coin back up, try to flip it back. So Will Ethereum flip Bitcoin on July 29th? Usually prices don't go in a straight line or obvious parabola like that, it would be too easy. It's not a prediction, it's not financial advice. Charts show historical prices, they don't predict the future. Lars Online at this point is neutral for ETH versus USD, so let me be super clear here that I'm not standing here and recommending a buy on Ethereum from dollar. You have to do your own assessment for that. In this video I'm comparing ETH versus BTC, which is in a strong uptrend on almost every time frame except the micro time frames. If you want to analyze ETH versus USD, I find it best to analyze two things separately. Bitcoin versus dollar separately, where the trend is currently down, but maybe it's turning up now with the recent news. Maybe 30k was the bottom and we got 3 chances to buy it. We'll soon find out. And number 2, ETH versus BTC separately, where trend is currently up, but it could turn down if the industry focus now shifts back to Bitcoin. I covered this thinking in more detail in the previous Ethereum video where I made 5 scenarios. I'll link that video in the description. The takeaway from this video is that the flippening came extremely close here. It's only a little over 2x from here. Maybe it doesn't happen this time, but maybe it happens on the next attempt. And I think it's unwise to lock your mindset in. Instead, be open for any scenario, prepare for them, be ready for in case they play out. I'll keep you updated here on the channel, but you have to press both the subscribe and the bell button or YouTube won't show you videos about dangerous topics like cryptocurrencies from a small channel like mine. Thank you, tack. City och Larsson out, hej då!